Hi, my name is Violet Pagan. I'm the Vice President of Business Development at OTC Markets for the Asia-Pac region. I have with me today Ian Matheson. Thank you for joining us. He is the CEO of the Australasian Investor Relations Association. Ian, thank you for being here.
Great pleasure, Violet. Thank you for having me.
So today, I'd just like to ask you a couple of questions about AIRA and the work that you do with your issuers. Can you give us a little bit of flavor of what you've done over the last 20 years since your founding in 2001?
Yeah, it's investor relations is one of those corporate functions that's grown around the world, and I think that's it's come about because institutional ownership and retail participation in markets, particularly in developed markets, has grown enormously over that period of time. Disclosure regimes in developed markets has only gotten tighter as well, and so with that institutional ownership and retail interest in equities, for example, increasing, companies have had to respond to that by lifting their game when it comes to outreach, going out and seeing investors, both large and small, much more than they probably ever have in the past.
And how has your association worked with your issuers to access the U.S. investment community, since we are here in New York?
Well, I think the US market is obviously the largest market in the world, and historically Australian and New Zealand companies have been very popular investments for US investors. So there's been a long tradition of US investors investing in Australian and New Zealand companies. Mm-hmm. So we've always encouraged Australian companies who are, particularly those who are members of the association. We have about 170 listed entities who are members of AIRA, to consider coming to the US on roadshows and also attending the many conferences that exist over here, both Australasian conferences but also sector conferences, to either as non-deal roadshows or at conferences, to really showcase what they're doing. And some of that interest is either, it varies from time to time obviously, but it's either interest in a thematic, which currently one of those thematics is lithium. The lithium sector, as you know, in Australia is booming.
Rare earths, uranium,
yes. All of that. And Australia, I suppose, has been lucky that in the resources space, we've got everything to a greater or lesser extent. So there's always interest from US investors in those, particularly those newer thematics, as well as the traditional Aussie companies as well. So the US has always been a very popular place to roadshow, and we certainly encourage members to if they haven't, if it's not already an active part of their investor outreach, to consider coming to the US on an as needs basis. But certainly it's an essential part of any Australasian company's investor relations activities these days.
Very good. Thank you so much, Ian. So happy to have you here. Enjoy the city, and we look forward to seeing you in Sydney in May.
Yeah, and thank you very much to OTC for its support for both AIRA, but also for what you do for Australasian companies as well. And I know those Australasian companies that do have an OTC listing, and I have always been very supportive of that listing. And thank you for what you do to support all offshore companies, including Australasian, with those listings and what you do for them. So thank you very much, Violet.
You're quite welcome. Thank you.